Are
there,
we are
Doc.
we in progress yet? I don't get much notice around here, you know what I mean?
He's joking because it says when you record, it says recording in progress. So he said, "Are you in progress yet?" Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the I can't even speak. Father-daughter podcast. What's your story with Jamie and Stan?
Can
He
they see, can
said
they see us?
they can see us.
If you can see us, hello.
If they're watching YouTube, they can see
If
us.
you're watching YouTube, hello.
Yes.
If you're not, we look fabulous. We look great.
You always look that. You should have a
Oh,
haircut.
I got several.
Looks good.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're going a little grayer these days.
Those are badges of honor I have earned.
I feel like you have. I mean, you are rounding the corner of 78.
We don't need see specificities. We can more keep it in the realm of generalities.
Did you? Well, you just told me my uncle, your brother, he's 11 years older than you?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So I was raised almost like an only child.
That explains a lot.
Not a homeless only child, just an only child. I've been homeless at times.
What were some lessons that you would share with other only children that helped you survive?
Being a latchkey kid is kind of good because your grandma used to go to work. I'd be home alone. Man, I get on Saturdays. I'd watch my cartoons, make my bologna sandwiches with potato chips inside. I was totally relaxed. I had a cool time.
Let's go. Most kids actually don't even know what a latchkey kid means.
Nor should they.
Right. So why do they call it latchkey? Like what's
I
that
think
word?
because if you left someone home alone, you'd be in the house, you put the little latchkey up on top to lock the door, make sure no one would come in.
Oh, so latchkey kids were kids that would come home. There'd be no one there. You'd have a key, get in your house. So you kind of raised on a Saturday that happened to you?
Well, she'd be working on weekends, I suppose.
What did she do for work? She
Maybe
seamstress?
no, no. She worked in a bunch of schools, did a whole bunch of different things. She was probably one of the lunch ladies.
Really? I had
Well,
no idea.
they had their own business for a number of years. They had a cleaning shop. They worked together
Mhm.
in a cleaning store for dry cleaning.
But I didn't know that I had no idea that she worked in lunch
You
lady.
should talk to me more often.
I,
But it goes back to I was so relaxed in those days. It gave me my hidden superpower. And we'll talk about that superpower if you want to hear about it, because everybody has this power, but it's hidden in them. They don't know it. It's holding them back and it's there. Unleash it.
are you ready to let our guest in?
Yes.
So I met our guest.
She's such a good audience.
I'm just letting him. I'm letting him. I can't. I can't. We're just gonna let him in and say hello.
Two people come in?
No, it's just my note taker that's
Okay.
in there. Yeah. So I have a note taker that comes in as well too, that grabs the notes of the conversation.
This technology,
So I know it's wild,
it's
right?
changing all the time. There's bells, whistles,
There's
this
so many
pop up, and
things.
I can't find these cookies.
Oh my gosh, I can't be. Yeah, these things. Well, I actually just had someone who said they sent me an image,
You should
and
don't scream about it.
okay, you feel better like that?
Yeah, much better.
Okay, Frank, are you there?
I'm here.
Hi, we're
I'm
don't
trying
mind
to.
us. We're just having a whole conversation here, just talking about life, and my
Frank, I
God.
gotta congratulate you because 90% of our wonderful guests, they come on and they don't know they're muted. We can hear you right out of the box. Fantastic.
I've been ready for 15 minutes.
I know. I saw you were in there, and I was like, my dad had to go get his hair cut.
Oh,
That's true
blame it
story.
on me.
Well, it's so good to see you again. Hi. I did not. We are recording now. We are recording
Hang
live.
on just a minute. Let me
Sure, no
just cut
worries.
this thing off.
So, listener, while
I'm sorry.
We don't edit this, do we?
we don't edit it. No, we are live and recording, Frank. So this will be part of the podcast. But I didn't get a chance to share with the audience how you and I met. And so,
Okay.
audience, if you're listening or watching, I met Frank as we were both displaying our books at a book fair at the local Barnes and Noble. And you had a sign on the table that said, "Is it safe to fly?" Am I correct? That's what it said?
Yes.
I
Yes.
was like, coming from somebody who flies all the time as a consultant, I need to talk with you. And we didn't get a long time to
Oh,
chat.
this wasn't a rooftop show, was it?
No, yeah, I know. No, no. But we didn't get a long time to chat. But you had your youngest son there with you who was helping you and your wife. And
Right.
that was your first book, and you're working on book number two, right?
I am, and I just finished.
Oh my goodness. Well, we'll talk about that. But let's I know you've probably got a lot to tell. And first of all, I feel like you and my dad are wearing like the same shirt in just two different colors.
I hope
Uh,
the second book talks about landing.
well, this is Rin's original from Hawaii
Ooh,
because I spent 30 years there, and I have quite a few shirts that look like that.
there we go.
Frankie, what size are you?
Medium.
Uh, Lost again.
Well, we like to, our stories, we like to hear your story. We like to hear, where your story started and where you are now. But we always ask the same question of all of our guests as they come in to see where you're at today on the mental health number. And so, my question for you that we'll start off with is, what is your number today? And what I mean by that is on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being it's the best day you have ever had, like you would want to be anywhere else, nothing else could be better, to a 1 being a day that maybe you shouldn't be peopling because your energy could be contagious. What is your number right now?
Plus, decimals and fractions do count. And I'm going to guess. I'm going to guess. I'm a people reader. I'm going to guess your number. Hold on a
No,
second. Hold on.
I was terrible on decimals and
Okay.
fractions.
Fraction.
All right. What is your number today then?
My number every day is 10.
Ooh. Well, we cannot wait to find out why that is. Let's just start there. Why is your number a 10 every day? Because clearly, listen, you live in the same world that we live in, and there's noise and there's stressors and there's chaos, but how are you finding that 10 every day? What is
He
it?
sold the television set.
Yeah, exactly. Doesn't watch the news.
Well, when you're 92 plus, every day you wake up, God has let you be here for a reason. So that's how I look at it.
When are you going to be 92?
I
Yeah.
am 92
Come on, Frank. Give me you're a birth. Quick. Don't think. You're a birth.
to 1934.
Holy crap.
That's amazing. 92 years. Well, thanks for sharing that. And I just can't even imagine. Where did you start your life?
In Columbus, Ohio,
Okay.
uh, at like 8 p.m., I think, at the
You have an
White Cross
appointment?
There were
Hospital.
clocks back then? I'm just kidding.
That's what the sundial said.
It did.
Now, do you have any siblings growing up?
I did not have siblings. I was one of a kind.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Later in life, my father did remarry, and I had a stepsister who is resting in peace now. So
Okay. So you were born in Ohio and grew up as an only child. And back in the 30s, that must have been I know that like parenting has changed over the years. And you have your own children. Do you have four? Is that correct? Do I remember that correctly?
six,
Oh, six. Sorry. Six.
six.
Oh
Holy
my
crap.
goodness. So your oldest is how old?
70s.
He's six. He was born in 1960,
Okay,
the
so
oldest.
so he's 65, right?
65, and then I have one 64, 63. Then I have a 30, a 34, and a 37.
Okay, so growing up,
I've been married twice.
okay, got it. So growing up as an only child, your life was very different, right? In the 30s, parents were like, children should be seen, not heard. I've heard that 1,000 times.
Is that bad?
Well, no, but it's like, I also know that my mother-in-law is 88 and she grew up in London, but she was like, our parenting was very different then. It was like you had children, but they were the kids, and then there was the adults. Was that similar to how you were brought up, or tell us a little about your life as a child back in the 30s?
It the only thing I can remember is lots of love and caring. There was a time when at the dinner table you were not to speak until spoken to.
Mhm.
Uh, but that was rare. I mean, nobody adhered to that. It was a very pleasant, easy life for me, actually.
Well,
Uh, I, I lived a lot of times with my grandmother and grandfather on the farm down in southern Ohio. My grandfather was a Shawnee Indian, grew up on a reservation.
Oh boy.
wow.
Uh, he met my grandmother somewhere between Pennsylvania and Ohio. They got married, and I spent a lot of time growing up eating organic food, uh, doing all the farm stuff that you do. Uh,
The original farm
and
to table.
that's right.
Yeah.
It was, the word organic didn't exist probably back then, but
Mm.
it was all organic and fresh and mostly fruits and vegetables and chicken, not red meat.
Yeah.
The red meat was for market.
Oh. Did you continue that eating style throughout your life?
Uh, in 1981, I went to vegetarianism.
Ooh.
Uh, Up to that time, still ate lots of fruits and vegetables because meat was not aesthetically pleasant for me. So, I could eat a hamburger now and then. I could hide it with relish and lettuce and onions,
Yeah.
but I didn't eat red meat, pork chops, and all those things. It just wasn't. But my family did. I
What was
mean,
your main, what was your
they
main
were
source? Good.
farmers. They ate red meat and they ate chickens and I'm sorry,
What was your main source of protein?
uh, probably beans, legumes. Uh, Even today, it's rice and beans.
Hmm.
Uh, I haven't had meat or flesh since 1981.
And
So
you feel
Wow.
great. Energy level is high. You feel great. You look terrific.
yeah, I feel great. I mean, I have no pains whatsoever.
So you started, that's incredible. And we're gonna get into like why that happened in 1981. But so you grew up in Ohio, and how long did you stay in Ohio for?
Until I was senior in high school, I got drafted right out of high school.
Wow.
I had a scholarship to Kent State for $500 a month for football. But when at that time you had to be in college with a B average, uh, or you had to go in the Army. But my family said go in the Navy, so I took the test, went in the Navy for 4 years, and got out.
And you saw the world.
Saw the world. Yes, I enjoyed my four. It was most of it was aboard ship, DDR radar picket ship that's active in Mexico right now.
Hmm.
Well, so
Uh,
you were born like right before World War II.
Oh, it was in the 40s.
Yeah, but so you would have been a child living here.
8 years old. My father, he was rejected from the army because of his flat feet, believe it or not.
Yeah.
So he joined the Merchant Marines to serve, and we moved to New York. And uh, I was in New York throughout the war. Went to a Jewish day school and ended up marrying a Jewish girl.
Wow. And that must have been such an interesting time to be there during World War II, knowing what happened during World War II, right? So, I mean,
It was.
what was life like in New York City? What was life like for you at a Jewish day school, knowing that just across the pond, as they say, life was crazy. We saw some here, obviously, on our own soil, but that must have been such a wild time for you.
Well, we lived in a basement uh, row house, all the red brick type.
Yeah.
And there was a drugstore on the corner. The school was right across the street. I made a couple friends. So the war didn't impact me really. I mean, I didn't think much about war. Thought about going to school, my friends, and we would go down in the evening and sit in this store and read comic books. And the guy let us sit there and read comic books. And that was pretty much it until we left and went back to Columbus, Ohio. I
Well,
mean,
for your 4 years in the service, any active campaigns at that time?
no, it was the Korean War was just ending.
Gotcha.
Uh, but I did join the Navy instead of going in the Army. As the family demanded I go in the Navy. So to get in the Navy, you had to pass a test and get at least a B average. So I passed that, and I learned my air traffic control trade in the Navy. I controlled fighter jets off of an aircraft carrier.
Exciting. Wow.
So, but I didn't know that I was learning my future at that time.
Oh my gosh, there's so many things I want to ask you about. I'm a genuinely curious person, but okay, so before we get into the career side of it, you go to this school, you meet your wife. Were you friends first, or was it like love at first sight?
No, uh, I moved to Hawaii and I was married to my first family, my first wife. And we divorced, and 10 years later, I met my second wife.
Okay.
So I didn't know her, and she was a social worker working at Kali Mahali Hospital, and we shared the same apartment building and met at the pool.
Okay. But your first time
And
you said you had met in school. You met like in a day school, right? You met there.
I no, I met my first wife in Oklahoma.
Oh no.
That's where I went to school for the FAA.
Okay, got it. Wow. Oh my goodness. Okay, so you go from Ohio to New York, your family's there, and then you move back to New York. And when you enlist in the Navy, were you living in Ohio then?
I was in Columbus going to high school.
Okay.
Uh,
So you enlist in the Navy, you go for 4 years. Where were you sent?
I was stationed in Norfolk, Virginia,
Okay.
and went to radar school, um, played a little football, did some boxing. That kept me out of peeling potatoes.
Sure. Okay.
So, and then I went aboard ship, which was very interesting. Uh, but it wasn't the life for me. They offered me 20,000 to re-enlist and go to officers candidate school, but I just was not in my mindset was not being restricted to the Navy. So, I mean, it was, they tell you when to eat, when to sleep. So,
Sure. But it was
So
there.
almost like marriage.
But it was there that you found the love of radar and being able to navigate those systems. Is that where it was you said in the Navy?
well, yeah, you take a test and they tell you what you're suited for.
Like your
I
comp.
really wanted to go. I really wanted to go into submarines, but uh, they rejected the idea and said, "We want you to go to a radar class." So I'm not sure what that was about. I mean, I wasn't a math genius, but apparently they found something in my personality that worked for controlling airplanes.
Apparently,
So,
you don't panic under pressure.
so that was my path.
So how does that work? So you go and you take this radar class and then you're working for the Navy, but then you served 30 years, I think, for FAA, right?
Uh, Actually, I spent 30 years in the FAA and another 35 years supporting the FAA
So
as a consultant.
how did you transition to go from the Navy to work for the FAA?
Well, when I got out of the Navy, I was 22 or so, and my dad lived in Phoenix, Arizona, invited me to come out and spend some time with him because we haven't seen each other for so long. I did go. He had a very successful paint store, and I worked in there. And my next door neighbor was the air traffic chief of Phoenix Tower.
Mm.
Over the fence, we were talking about just things, right? And what came up was what I did in the Navy. And he said, "Well, I want you to come down to the tower and fill out this paperwork because the FAA is hiring." So I went down, he filled it out for me, gave me a recommendation, sent it in, and I forgot about it. 6 months later, I was back in Ohio and I got the letter saying you've been accepted in the FAA, come take a test. So I
Wow.
did, and I passed it, and that was history. They assigned me to Washington, D.C. air traffic
What a
control
location.
center,
Wow.
What year was that? What year would that have been?
1959. But it wasn't the FAA, it was the CAA. It was the Civil Aeronautics Administration. And so I was there when we actually started building the FAA.
What a
Wow.
history. Oof.
I mean, like how many planes back in the 1950s were up in the air at any time, any moment?
Oh, probably 1,500,000. Just today, it's, 25, 3,000, 4,000 a day.
That's
But
wild.
it was the hardest task I ever had was to qualify in the Washington Center. They had a 75% washout rate.
Mm.
And
Okay.
there were five of us that came in. And this is a true story. The instructors came in and said, "You five huddle a little bit, decide on which two of you are going to stay because three are going to wash out. So those other four, they looked at me, and I probably looked the youngest and the most naive. And they said, "We want you to speak for us, Frank. We all want to stay." So I did the speaking, and they considered me as the maverick. So it went on from there, and we all five made it through. We
Wow.
all five went into management. So, but it was the best training my whole career, my whole life on how to cope with stress. So,
What did they teach then that was so helpful? Like what made it the best training?
well, you have to learn. Today's manual is like 4,000 pages. Air traffic controllers must know. Back then, it was maybe 30, 40 pages of requirements, of standards of controlling keeping airplanes apart. Okay. So they give you control problems over and over and over. It's redundant uh, and repeatable training. So eventually you get this picture on how to manually control airplanes without radar. So you're using time, distance, and altitudes. So it's all mental manipulation, and uh, it's very difficult to get a 3D picture in your mind. It's not like looking at a radar set that later I used.
Yeah.
This was all visual and mental capacity.
And there were
Uh,
no simulators then.
no simulators. Uh, we did have one radar set that we used that came from the Navy, and I did start learning on that eventually.
I mean,
Uh,
How many runways in Washington were there then?
how many runways? Well, let me tell you, there were like three or four, maybe at Reagan, and then Dulles wasn't there yet.
How many today?
Uh,
How many today?
but I was in an air traffic control center, not a tower. The typical tower you see on the airport. Where do you live?
we're in Sarasota.
Okay, that Sarasota tower. I helped locate it where it is. Uh, but I worked in a center which is a big building, very secure, and it's all pure radar. Uh, Back then, we had a mixture when I went in of a mixture of radar and non-radar. So today, these controllers do not learn how to control without a radar set. Back then, it was a mixture, and so I got the benefit of learning the mental gymnastics plus using radar. Uh,
And you were
Wow.
not good in math? Are you
I mean,
kidding?
like I feel like that's geometry, right? Like if we're
well,
trying to
it's
figure out
geometry, and it's angles.
it's geometry, right? Isn't that? It's all
Yes,
geometry.
it's geometry.
Yeah, I always said I would never need geometry. I haven't needed it, but you obviously did.
Frank, pardon my ignorance of airplane evolution, but were they all props in those days? No jets?
Yes, there were jets, but there were a lot of props, and the jets were 707s, 727s. The jumbos weren't there yet.
Man, you're at
I
the
mean, what you have seen just in your lifetime and how it's evolved must be so just incredible for you to look back and see what it was like when you started and now, where it's come. And your book or that sign that you had on the desk was like, is it safe to fly? And I don't think anyone would know better than you. So I'm gonna just go with it. Is it safe to fly, Frank? Like, are we safe to fly? You've seen it
you
all.
mean like in a plane?
Yes, in a plane.
Of course, it's safe to fly, but uh, look how many miles there are in airplanes flying passengers, and how many accidents. It's rare. Uh, and most accidents are caused by pilot error or equipment error, not air traffic controllers. It does happen. It has happened, but that's rare. Uh, and an accident always has a sequence of events leading up to that accident. Just like the one in Washington, D.C., where the helicopter hit the civil aircraft. but there were sequences of events that took place and nobody caught it at the time. So that's how it happens. I mean, I don't know if you want to get into that or not about that accident, but that should have never happened.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, I mean, just as of this week, there was another private jet, and unfortunately, a gentleman lost his life in Austin, Texas. This is airing in a few weeks from now, but it was a private jet that landed. I'm not sure if you saw it on the highway in Austin, or right outside the highway in Austin. A private jet that just they called into air traffic control saying that they were having an electricity problem and a fuel problem, and they crashed. And unfortunately, one of the gentlemen on the plane passed away from that, from smoke inhalation, I think, is what actually got him when they landed. But they say what you have more of a chance of being hit by a car than you do getting in a plane crash, I think.
oh,
But
of course, or
still,
hit by lightning.
right. But see, well, people still fear flying. I never used to fear. I feel it more now because I think I've got more to lose. But what have been some of the most incredible experiences in your life that you've seen over the last 65 years that you did that were just what stands out for you the most?
Well, I spent 15 years actually controlling airplanes, and then 15 years as a supervisor and a manager. And in all that time, there was only one incident of an accident caused by a controller, and that was at the Honolulu airport, uh, where the controller was getting relieved and information wasn't passed back and forth properly. And he cleared an airplane to land and cleared one to depart. And they scraped each other. Nobody was killed, but it was an accident. Uh, I remember one time I was on a fan trip down the island chain coming back, and I was stuck on Maui trying to get back to Honolulu. And uh, it was bad weather, raining, and there was one guy who wanted to depart Maui in a private, it was probably a Cessna, I can't remember about it. It was a Cessna probably, but he needed somebody in the jump seat so he could take off and go. So I volunteered.
Oh,
So we
Frank, Jesus.
so we headed back to Honolulu.
Sounds like a La Bamba story, but you survived. But go
You
ahead.
never volunteer. You never do that.
That I
Frank
know I
Valley.
should. I learned that in the Navy, never volunteer, but I wanted to get home. So we were under radar control by the center where I worked, and they handed us off to the tower, the radar approach control. I'll explain that in a minute if you want. And they had us under radar, and the approach controller gave us a heading of 180. And I know his plan was to take us south, bring us back behind a Japanese or a Japanese air carrier. And that was a big jet, of course. And we were on this heading for maybe 3, 4 minutes. And the guy looked at me and said, Frank, what do you think's going on? I said, well, just ask the controller, say, hey, what's the status? And before we found out anything, that civil jet passed off our left.
Oh, crap.
Maybe, we could see the pilots in the
Holy
cockpit. That was the scariest moment I've ever had. And that was,
you hit his backwash or no?
yeah, we were doing that. We were doing the left and right a little bit. Well, what he did was he banked to the right, and we made a 360 to come back in, and the controllers were very apologetic.
I would
When
hope
we
so.
landed, we went up to the tower and we talked to him, and
Wow.
we didn't report it. And the Japan Air didn't see us.
Oh, man.
Gosh.
So,
Whew.
You saved a
you,
career.
But but what you said was that they transferred you over to the tower. So is that the way the model is today as well too? There's a center that is all the radar, and then when you're coming in closer or when you're departing, the tower handles only a part of it, but that a center handles the rest of it.
I'll give you a quick flight.
Mhm.
Uh, when you board your airplane, the pilot will call the tower for pushback, to push back into the departure lanes, uh, or to the ramp area. the tower requests clearance from the center, and we give them the clearance to wherever they're going, to Timbuktu or wherever. Uh, then they depart. Uh, the tower controller, the departure controller, will first talk to that airplane, and then they will control it for about 5 miles from the runway. That's the tower where they're visually controlling, but they also have a radar that they're looking at. That's a feed from their radar on the airport. They'll hand it off to the radar approach controller, and they will make radar contact and separate it from any other airplanes arriving or departing. Then they will make a handoff to the center, and the center will take control about 30 miles from the airport. And then we controlled the airplane all the way to its destination. And going across country, if you went from Florida to California, you would be passed through 3 or 4 centers on radar control. Everything today is you're under radar control. And even in the ocean, a good deal of the time you're under some kind of radar. Whether you're going to Paris or whether you're going down to Australia, you'll be under positive control.
Well, that's interesting. So, like, if you are flying, that brings up an interesting question for me. So, say you're flying from the States to Europe, or to Iceland, or to Africa, or wherever. Do the do the organizations in the different countries work well together to hand off the radar? Like, are you communicating with other countries at any given moment with the radar?
Oh, yes, there are boundaries. For example, New York probably has a boundary with Canada. They have a boundary with, I'm not sure, it depends on where that airplane is going, but there will be uh, a foreign state that will air traffic controllers, and English is universal language. So there will be a transfer of control, either radar or non-radar, to that control facility. So you'll be under, uh, and let me tell you that uh, Europe, Australia, New Zealand, all those areas have very good air traffic control systems. Uh, in fact, real fast, they are ahead of us. Uh, at one time, we were the pinnacle of air traffic control and innovation in the United States. And I don't know if you want to get into that kind of politics, but there's a point where we started on a downward path and we have not recovered yet. Uh, Duffy from the Department of Transportation has his hands full because our system is 20 years
Outdated.
behind time. I would not want to be in his shoes. Uh,
How
he
long ago
has,
did we start to see that descent? Like, how long ago when did that start? How many years ago did you start to see that go down?
I would say 1990.
Did they
Mm.
propose new equipment, or those plans were rejected?
That's the problem. During the strike, 1981, uh, the controllers went on strike because of they wanted equipment and more money. When Reagan came in, uh, he got handed off a big mess. We lost, he fired 20,000 controllers and he had to replace them. And the equipment, he didn't trust the FAA to modernize, so that's where it started with consultants. And Martin Marietta was the first big company, and they did a great job. They came out to our facility. We worked with them. They had all the technology. They brought us, we didn't have I was in management by then, and we had very few desktop computers. We did everything by hand and secretaries and taking shorthand, et cetera, et cetera. So under Reagan, we did start modernization. He did give the controllers more money, a better package. But as I don't know if you recall, it didn't work. The FAA and the union PATCO could not come together, so they were all fired. And that was probably the most stressful time of my life. So,
Wow.
Two questions at this point. First question is, what is the range of radar? And does the tower does the center have greater range than the tower?
oh yeah, the towers they go out to about 30 miles or so,
Well, that's
and
max. That's max.
that's about max, yes. And then centers, they have radars situated geographically to give them coverage for the whole route of flight. But in Hawaii, for example, our radar coverage went from Honolulu Airport to 300 miles out, and then we would lose radar contact.
Wow.
Today, there is another system called ATOP that emulates radar. So they do have a radar type control.
What's the techno? What gets sent? What kind of a beam gets sent out that bounces back?
Uh, well,
What do you mean? Like
I mean,
sonar?
from a radar
Well,
electronic
if
beam?
there's an object out there, something is going out, is detecting it, and the image is coming back to you. So is it a,
Yeah, there's an electronic, I can't give you the technical word right this moment, but there is a radar beam that goes out, hits a target, and brings it back. But today, uh, along with that radar target, which is a pure radar target on the scope, we have an automated target. So when that target comes in, it goes through a filter and gets automated, and it shows up on the radar scope as two slashes. And the radar target is normally right in the center of those slashes. We controllers are mostly controlling off of automated returns, an automated target.
Wow.
and cloaking is possible? You can deceive radar,
Cloaking.
making yourself
Uh,
invisible.
no, there's not. I don't believe we use the term cloaking in air traffic at all.
And
You would use
Stealth, like
cloaking.
stealth.
You would use cloaking in the military probably,
Yeah.
but not air traffic.
So there, forever, they say that's one of the highest stressful jobs you can possibly imagine. You mentioned a minute ago the most stress you've ever been was that time when they were cutting jobs, no one was there. But it's notorious for being one of the highest stressful jobs out there. I've also heard that there are requirements. You have to be a certain age, certain eyesight, certain different things to be working for the FAA and in air traffic control specifically. Tell us a little bit about that dynamic as were in it for a very long time. I'm sure you encountered people that were under massive stress. You were at that time that you mentioned. How are people managing that? And, tell us a little bit more about that profile of a person today and what that looks like.
did they give you any stress management, or you guys are on your own?
Well, this is, let me just take a breath.
Sure.
The To get into the FAA, there is a stringent physical that you take. And you, of course, cannot, you can't take any kind of substance that would impair you uh, to do your job. But we all know that's not true. Uh, in my
Go
time,
on.
in my time, the the controllers turned to alcohol. There were lots of um, drinking, and that was the stress reliever for them.
Could you smoke?
Uh,
Could you smoke in the tower at that time?
Back when I first started, you could.
Okay.
Eventually, that was restricted. You can't smoke in the tower, and you can't drink in the tower. Uh,
Wait, could you ever drink in the store?
no,
Okay. Oh, wait, hold on a second.
but I handled as an operations manager. I also handled in Honolulu uh, testing controllers for drugs,
Wow.
marijuana, cocaine, any of that. And we would surprise them with a test. Uh, Believe it or not, it was very difficult to find somebody that could not qualify that day. Some of them would wait for hours to urinate into a cup. So we would feed them lots of water. Uh,
Yeah. Well, especially because
but
you were doing this in the 70s as well. Right? Like, I mean, like we're talking like, wasn't everybody on drugs in the 70s? Isn't that why I was born?
Well, after the strike, uh, then the young ones came in and they brought marijuana and they brought um, those kinds of drug of choice. You know, they probably did everything. Uh, it was a different group. Uh, my group we were all former military guys,
Oh man,
and
what a culture clash.
we all had experience with air traffic and we knew what we were doing. But Reagan started bringing in college graduates because he thought that a college degree was what it was about, but it's not. It takes a certain type A person to do air traffic control. It's not for the timid or for somebody who's very sensitive because we hazed each other day in and day out. I mean, that was the relief. A lot of hazing. Uh,
Were there women
so
back
you,
then
you
as well too, or was it mostly predominantly men?
It was all men.
the women started after the strike, and that brought another set of problems. Uh,
You guys are
because
both laughing way too hard about that.
well,
It changed the hazing
You mean
protocol.
things got done well, they got done even better, they were more organized. No, I'm just kidding.
well, I'll tell you, I think women controllers were probably better than men. Uh, they they concentrated more than we did. Uh, but the controllers in my time were the best in the world. Uh, Today's controllers don't match what we were because we were dedicated. We had a military background. Uh, we were disciplined. We looked out for each other's back. Today it's a little different. Uh, what are they? They're millennials and
Oh, I don't
uh,
get the Gen
But
Z.
is the training just as
the
rigorous? Like, they have to be like the training or the qualifications are just as high
no,
as they were?
the qualifications. That was one of the problems that's in my book is that uh, the training and selecting who should be a controller has they now control them until they make it. In my day, the goal was to break you out,
Mm.
not to pass you. If you passed, then you were the person we wanted on our team. But today, they train them until they make it. So that's not a good scenario. Uh,
So it's like a ticking time
but
bomb, really. I mean,
but but there is a caveat to that. When those folks who come out of the academy at Oklahoma City, when they pass, they still have to go to the facility, and that's where the rubber meets the road, and that's where the tough training takes place.
okay.
And if, they have a high washout rate, 30%, maybe more at like Chicago, New York, Miami, Los Angeles, these big centers and big towers, you can bet that those guys who made it through that, they're safe. They know what they're doing. That's
At,
why I say it's safe to fly.
at any given time, how many people are typically in the tower? How many air traffic controllers are in the tower?
Well, there's different levels of towers. You got level like 7, which is like 8, maybe a level 10 like Sarasota. There's usually 3 or 4 positions that are operating. Uh, you may have a local control that handles all the arrivals in the air. You got a departure controller who handles the runways. You'll have maybe a coordinator that helps them or a supervisor that's in there. You have a flight data position that handles flight data information for the controllers who are actually controlling. So, in, for example, in LA Tower, they may have 15 positions open. Chicago has 3 different towers operating that whole airport, and they'll have maybe each tower may have 10 positions open because they have the most traffic, right?
And what are the shifts? How long are the shifts for each one?
They're short, I think.
8-hour shifts, and normally you stay on a sector a busy sector for 2 hours, and they'll relieve you, and you'll go to a less busy sector.
And the tower runs 24/7, yes?
Uh, 10 and level 10s and above. There's some towers who will close down at 10 o'clock at night or 7 o'clock at night. Uh, it just depends on the traffic.
Did the company give you any training at all on how to manage
He
stress?
said earlier they did. He said it was the best stress he had, the training he had.
Give me
The answer is very little on stress. Uh, I handled it because in 1970 I learned how to meditate,
okay. But that
and
was a personal choice that you made.
as a personal choice. But
Didn't give training at all.
I taught a lot of people in Honolulu Center how to meditate, both controllers and management. But the stress man there's very little stress management per se where they talk about meditation. Uh, I can't remember having a stress class in the FAA,
Or
okay?
any technique for that.
Or even as a consultant.
You're the only guy with your qualification and years in the field I can ask this question to. If you had your choice between two individuals, because most of the time these guys you're in fight or flight protocol the entire day. I mean, you're running, you're stressed, you're crazy and stuff.
Right.
Would you rather have a guy in his regular protocol of fight or flight, very, very, very tense, very focused, or someone who's very relaxed and very slow, but encompasses everything he sees? Who's usually the more productive individual?
Oh, that guy,
The
for
relaxed.
sure.
You knew the
Yeah.
answer to that
No, but I'm
question.
just saying is, but even
That was
though
a good setup.
it's an obvious, but there's no teaching of the personnel to get to that particular state. Even if meditation is an incredible, even something mini meditation, they should focus some training in it at all, minimal stuff.
Well,
Give them a
I'll
tool.
tell you the mental state of a controller. When it's slow, they're slow, and they're not as attentive. And that's when most deals, we call them deals, that's when most of those deals where you lose lack of separate, where you don't have proper separation.
You get sloppy.
That's normally when it's slow. But when the traffic, we call it a push. When you get a push, and you're moving lots of airplanes, 30, I've had 30 or 40 airplanes on my frequency at one time. You are very attentive, you're focused, your mind settles where it should be. I mean, your body is so uh, amazing that your brain knows when to kick in and do the job, right?
Yeah.
Uh, and you can do that for a couple hours, uh, and then it subsides, and then you move to a lesser sector. But you really have to, we always focused on awareness when you weren't busy. That's when you let down, your body lets down, your senses let down, your breath lets, and you relax. And but that's when you really need to be focused.
Yeah.
So that's
So
uh,
your book is
a
about,
pro. We don't have a good profile. They never had a good profile of because when I first joined, the profile was former air traffic controllers in the military. But now they have less access. Military doesn't want to give up their controllers these days. You know, they put a lot of $100,000 in training you, and they don't want you to jump over to the FAA, but that is the best resource.
so your book is about your experience in this
Yes.
role as a consultant. Give us like a highlight of what readers can expect to find in your book when they read it and the title about it as well, too.
Don't give too much. Leave them wanting more.
Well, Maverick comes from during the strike, I was the operations manager, and I worked 6 months setting up our strike uh, procedures. And I had two controllers with me. We knew 6 months before the strike that was going to happen, probably. So we were ready 6 months before. Um, so we got into it on August 3rd at 2 a.m. I got the call to come into the center that they were going to strike. So I went in and We had 10 people. We lost 90 some percent of our controllers. We were all supervisors controlling. Prior to that, the backstory is I never joined a union. I started the union in Honolulu. It was called PATCO. I started it because they thought uh, that I had the personality to start a union, but I didn't because I wasn't union oriented. I was me oriented. And so I handed it off to Benny Ignacio, a local boy who was in the union all of his life. He took it over and I helped him. So fast forward, uh, we had PATCO going. We had good relationships. I had a good relationship. They respected me. I was not an easy person. I was demanding. I was a type A. And you can ask my wife, I took her to the center one time. When I walked in, everybody straightened up and act like they were working. So that was me. And they respected that. So before they went on strike, the day before the strike, they called me to the Sheraton Hotel and they asked me for my analysis. I told them we were going to beat your pants off. Don't strike. We're ready. Uh, and they went anyway. So I knew then I lost a lot of good friends. Fast forward, uh, I was breaking all the rules at the center. Guys would sleep for 5 hours, get up and control airplanes. We were sleeping on sacks at sleeping bags. So I wrote a letter to Reagan telling him what was going on. I predicted the future for him if we lose all this corporate knowledge. Uh, and of course, I sent it off. And of course, Reagan's people sent it to a guy named Helms. He was the FAA administrator. So he called my administrator in the Pacific region and said, fire that SOB. He's out of the mainstream. So George Harvey, his name, was the administrator. He was my boat partner. We were like that. So he called me and said, hey, you're fired today, and I'll have to fire you Monday unless you come down to the regional office. I said, I'll be there, George, on Monday. So they fired me. I was fired for one day. George,
for like sticking up for what was right.
yeah. Anyway, it was funny. Uh, so they sent out two guys from Washington and a couple from LA Center. They thought they could reduce it was all over the restrictions I also put in, and I wouldn't relax them. So they sent these guys out. It took them 3 months to relax my restrictions. So I was vindicated. Anyway, I went down to the regional office, and from there, I went to, I don't know if you want to hear that part. Uh, being a type A, I accepted that they fired me or they took me out of my position. But I went to see E. Alvey Wright, Admiral E. Alvey Wright. He was Senator Dan Inouye's aide. And 2 weeks later, they promoted me to a GS-15 and gave me a desk and a phone and a project. Up to that time, George gave me a seat over there in the corner and told me, just be nice.
And
So,
didn't that same Helms go on to become the head of the CIA?
yeah, he was. He actually lost his job with the FAA because he misstated something on his resume as being qualified to be the FAA administrator. But I didn't know the man, and I didn't. It was tough times. So
You were a whistleblower. That's why he's got screwed.
Jeez. So your book is about that story then? Is that what Maverick is about? Is about
that I give my history starting in 1959 to 2024 when I was fired again.
what for
On
that?
the same date. On the same date.
For what?
I don't know if that's
It's a new anniversary.
Yeah.
well, for 15 years, I was the only person who facilitated locating air traffic control towers on the airports. It was me. And I developed procedures, did the whole thing, worked with the engineers in the airport, and it was me. And then in 24 or so, 23, we started, Trump gave us $3.5 billion to build new towers. So we had that $1 billion, and we started doing all kinds of towers, from little ones to big ones, and building new ones. And they came up with a new tower design that was really terrible and didn't work. Still not working yet. Uh, and my boss, who loved me, said I could work as long as I wanted to. But there comes a point when if you rebel too much or push back too much,
You become the problem.
you're the problem. So, but I love this guy, I still do. Uh, and they abolished my job.
Oh,
But
jeez.
I had trained two people. I knew when I trained those two that my time would be up because I was 90 years old, and I
Yeah.
was getting to the point that I didn't like my managers. I didn't like the FAA, and being vocal and writing, I wrote a lot and sent lots of suggestions in.
Yeah.
So, but I left on good terms because I thought it was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Wow.
And I haven't thanked that gentleman yet, but I will.
Well, hopefully he's listening now.
New name for the book is The Boss Who Loved Me.
I'm going to pause us for just 1 second.
Uh, the, well, the reason I wrote The Maverick wasn't because I thought about it first. Somebody in my family, well, when I retired at 90, I went out to Sarasota Airport and I thought I could get a job. And I ever interviewed for this one position that has to do with some air traffic and radars and stuff. And the guy said, I'm going to hire you. Then I went back home. 2 days later, I got the call saying, I'm not going to hire you. And I said, he says, you're overqualified and you won't stick around. And I said, is it my age? He said, I can't tell you that. So I kind of said, okay, I'm 90. People are going to look at me and say, you're not going to be here very long. And, do you have any capacity to do any of these things? So in my family, I think it was my daughter, Jessica, that you were working with.
Mhm.
She said, write a book about your FAA, Dad. So that gave me my purpose of waking up every morning. And that's how I started at 90. And now I have a purpose. I write. I have 3 or 4 books in the works. So the FAA book, I didn't write it to sell it. I wrote it to send it to Trump and to Duffy and I didn't send it to the FAA.
Oh,
It would fall on deaf ears there
sure.
uh, because they're all non-operational people. They're engineers and different backgrounds, different degrees that have nothing to do with aviation, yet they're making the decisions. But now I think he's on the right track. He's hired one company to oversee everything. My only problem is I don't know what he's done about the stovepiping and the the autocrat manager in DC. And that was my latest letter to him. I wanted to know what he's doing about the FAA management. So I haven't heard back yet. I'm
Well,
sure I'll get some kind of response, but
well, you
not
can't
to
be
my
fired
liking.
anymore because you're not working, so they can't fire you. What's the worst
They
that can
can't fire me.
happen?
No, no, they can kill me, but they can't fire
No,
me.
let's not with that. So what is book number two? I mean, I want to be respectful of your time because you're especially married.
That
So, what?
that is reaching 92 and beyond.
Oh, so
And
let's lean into that. Are they lessons for
Speaking of
people?
that, in your entire illustrious longevity of career, has there been any unidentified stuff you've seen?
unidentified.
Like
I say,
UFOs.
UFO, UAPs?
oh, oh, am I
Your
only one
personal.
time in Honolulu, a radar controller said, that he had a target go across the scope uh, in millisecond. It came and gone, and it wasn't a false target. It was a real target. He saw it two or three times and it was gone. That's the only time we ever saw a UFO.
And nothing in your own personal experience.
No, never.
He's the alien. If you look one out of three, if you look to the left and the right, it's not them. It must be.
But I do watch the Alien. Have you watched the Alien on TV?
Oh, the what they call yeah, on the History Channel.
No, no,
Ancient
it's on
aliens. Ancient
ancient. No, no, no.
No,
This
it's
is
like
this is
fictional.
a series.
It's
It's
fictional.
a series,
Yeah, fictional.
and it's about an alien that comes to Earth.
Oh,
So
no.
you have to. It's on Paramount.
I have to look for it. So
Okay.
is your book that's about to come out lessons to others about how to reach 92 and beyond?
Yes, it's basically my FAA career, stress, how I handled that, and my daily life of what I've done for 90 years to 92 years to get here.
Great story.
So
And it was a surprise for me to be 92. So,
so as
I mean,
we
I just woke up one day and I was 92.
I'm sure that's how it works for all of us, right? So as we wrap up our conversation, what would you say would be like the top three things that you've done in your life that it helped you reach 92?
I'm going to tell you that I discovered that talking with my wife the other night. Our air conditioning went out and we got a hotel room and we were talking about this podcast. And in the book, I didn't specify that one important thing until we talked the other night.
Sure.
And in the book, I talk about purpose, prevention, hydration, organic food, sunlight, uh, exercise. I talk about all those things that everybody else talks about. But the one thing in my life that turned me around, there's two things. The first thing was at one time in my life, I decided that I'm going to let people do what they're going to do as long as they don't harm me and my family and my friends. And I live by that right today. And it got me through the FAA, got me through the Navy. Uh, and that is how I kind of deal with stress. I don't take on those things that I can't change.
And you don't internalize it.
I don't internalize it. Uh, I defended my wife one time, and to my regret, because she got all over me because I shouldn't have done that. So I'm very careful now how I intervene with my family or anyone. You know, it's got to be serious before I say, "Hey, stop that." But that was the change in my life, I think, because I dealt with stress that way. And then the second best thing was I learned how to meditate, do TM. Uh, I learned that because my 8-year-old son was selected out of a school to go into a play with the San Francisco Conservatory Theater, the play Equius. And he was so cute and all this hair, and they loved him. But they practiced TM. Everybody in that theater has to practice transcendental meditation. So I learned that early on, and that's how I dealt with stress. Uh, the third thing that I would have to say is the book Fit for Life by the Diamonds. Uh, I found that book in 1985 after I went through a period with that strike where I grew to 165 pounds and I wasn't looking good. I looked in the mirror and I said, "Oh, I got to change something." And I found this Fit for Life, and I've been following Fit for Life since 1985.
And they were Sarasota people. He wasn't Diamond in Sarasota? I think it was a Sarasota.
Well, they both have passed, and they may have been in Sarasota. uh,
You know
but
that.
he has two books, and I follow the first one that he wrote, and it's all based on
What you eat,
uh,
you combine your foods and stuff, or no?
food combining. You don't ever mix carbohydrates uh, with
With
uh,
fruits? With fruits?
with fruit, or you eat fruit by itself. And that's what every morning I get up, I drink water, I get sunlight, and I do chai tea, chai chai tea.
Like,
I do chai tea. I drink that too. Uh,
I see.
and uh, that's I eat organic. I don't eat until 11:30 or 12 uh, because my food is still digesting according to the diamonds. So if you eat before then, you interrupt the digestive process, which gets the love handles. So I follow that book explicitly. Uh, and I try to eat organic, and I try to stay away from the junk food, although, I eat birthday cake. I mean, sugar is, alcohol, smoking, and sugar are the three deadly killers. So I never smoked. I drank very little. My mother, father were alcoholics. Uh, my mother died with a beer and a cigarette in her hand. So, I mean, I learned the lesson way back when, at a young age, that this is how you live. And I attribute that to my grandfather and grandmother. They were really great people and the two people who I look to for most of what I am. So,
I'm envious. One day you're going to wake up and say, "How did I get to 100?"
well, women get there. You know that 30% of the people make it to 90, I think. 24% are women, 18% are men. Uh, Whites outlive blacks. The Mexicans outlive whites. The Japanese and Okinawa outlive everybody. The women do. Uh, and the blue zone diet is, that's like the diamonds. That's like fit for life.
With the
So,
Chinese, with all the thousands of years of Chinese medicine, where do they fall on that particular schedule of longevity?
oh, I have turned to the monks. I follow the monks every day. Look for some wisdom from a monk and their Chinese medicine. Uh, and that's why I do light workouts. Uh, you only have so one Chinese philosopher said you only have so many ticks, right? And so I took it to heart. I don't do heavy stress. I do lift weights 3 times a week, light weights up to 30 pounds. Uh, and I walk. So I think that's a pretty good path
Really
for
good.
me.
Wow. Well, I am so grateful that you said yes. Thank you. I think your story is fascinating. I'm so excited for us to share your story with our listeners. Where can they get your book, Maverick? Is that available? Where's it available? Where would you like to send them to?
It's Jesse sent it to me because I can never remember. It's the Maverick Manager, uh, the Maverick Manager, all one string.com.
Okay,
You ought
perfect.
to send one to Tom Cruise. I mean, someone's going to play you in the movie.
He already has the name Maverick.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Listen, next time you're in Sarasota, we're taking you to lunch, okay?
Yeah, I live in Sarasota.
Oh,
Oh,
there we go. All right. Well, we'll come and
Yeah,
meet you for lunch.
I,
Maybe we'll go to the
I, I do.
tower.
We downsized 5 years ago when all the kids left. We were in a big house and we downsized over on Fruitville, and uh, it's called Oak Court. There's 63 houses and it's all oak trees, and
oh,
we
super.
got 1,800 square feet for my wife and I, and
Nice.
uh, we're living a life.
Well, Frank, thank you so much for being our guest. So grateful. So happy to have you. So nice to have met you as a fellow author. I look forward to our paths crossing again in the future and I'm just grateful. Thank you for sharing your
And say
story.
hello to the woman behind the great man.
Yeah.
Or
I
the
will.
great woman behind the
And
man.
then thanks for keeping so many people safe for so many years. I mean, like you really, so many of us have you to, we owe our lives to you for being in charge of our safety for so many years. So thank you.
I enjoyed it and was dedicated to it.
Oh, well, we appreciate you, Frank. It's so nice.
So I will send you the other one. It'll probably be out in the fall.
All right, let us know.
I have to go find an editor and do all that stuff now.
Oh, I know
So,
that journey. Well, let us
okay.
know, and we'll happily have you back on to talk about that one.
A total pleasure, Frank.
Thank you.
B, thank you. And you look familiar.
Who, me?
Stan looks
I
familiar.
do? Did I ever
Yeah.
sell you a house?
No.
It's not too late.
It's too late now.
Thanks, Frank. Good
Thanks.
to see you.
Stay well.
All right, bye.
Okay, thank you both. I really appreciate the interest, and
It's mutual.
I'm not that articulate, but
You did
Are you
great.
kidding?
You were great. You were great. We appreciate you.
And Frank, before
Thank
we,
you.
I've got two words for you, Frank.
What?
yes,
You're
sir.
fired.
Aloha.
Mahalo. Bye, Frank.
Mahalo.
Namaste.
Bye. Bye. Oh,
He's
cool
fabulous.
story,
Cool.
right? I mean, like,
But no UFOs. Why are you booking these people that have no UAP? All those years of rating. You got to see something out there.
he said he did. He said he saw a UFO.
No, that was an associate who saw a thing fly across in Hawaii. He wasn't there. No personal experience.
Are you done?
And furthermore, great episode.
So cool. Everyone's got a story, and it's just so cool that we get to talk.
And the lesson again is that if you complain about something as legitimate as that may be, and you become a whistleblower, you become the problem.
But don't stop doing that.
Well, you usually pay a very severe price for it.
Well, anyway, listener, we hope you enjoyed Frank's story as much as we did. If you have a story to tell, let us know. Just some news for all of you. We are booked out for the year of 2026. So we are now booking episodes for 2027. If you'd like to join us, just go to the website, jamiemarco.com, JAIMEMARCO.com. Find the website, find on there the podcast, and register to be a guest.
I found this quite enjoyable.
I do too, Dad.
And the guest wasn't bad either.
Bye, listeners.